All right, welcome back to season 2 and another episode of Broke Up Not Broken. If you're going through a divorce, don't worry, you're not alone. This is your one-stop shop for mastering your life and your finances throughout the entire divorce process. Today, I'm thrilled to have Hashondra Smith with us. Hashondra is the insightful mind behind don'toverthink.me. Overthinking is my bugaboo. So we're going to talk a lot about this today. And as a life coach and mental wellness advocate, she specializes in helping individuals conquer overthinking and embrace mindfulness. Through her innovative strategies and personal experiences, she guides her clients towards achieving greater clarity, reducing stress, and optimized decision making. Her approach is rooted in practicality, making psychological insights accessible to everyone striving for a balanced and a fulfilling life. So listen, if you're feeling overwhelmed by your divorce or your current station in life, please don't be. Hashondra is here to help us break it down so you can feel confident and prepared by creating a clearer picture of not only your financial situation, but helping you tackle some of the personal challenges that you might be facing as well. So grab a cup of coffee or your beverage of choice, and let's once again get you personally and financially empowered. Hashondra, it's so great to have you with us.
I am so excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be a great conversation. We're going to get to some of the overthinking and some of the mental hurdles that we all face in our daily lives and our professional lives here in just a minute. But why don't you share a little bit about, who you are and maybe some of your backstory too, because I know you've dealt with divorce personally.
Yes. Well, as far as who I am, I consider myself just to be a spark, that person that comes into the lives of others just to start or ignite what's already there. And of course, I hold a lot of titles: business owner, nonprofit founder, author, but above all, just being a spark to people is what I pride myself on. And I too have been through a divorce. I've been divorced for almost 6 years now. And when I actually went through my divorce, I was a housewife. I stayed at home. My husband was the one, he was bread and butter. So when I decided that, okay, I need to make a change, this is an unhealthy relationship, I need a transition, I literally left my marriage with $37 and some change in my pocket. Yes. I moved in with my mother in her 1-bedroom apartment with my 2 children. They're now 20 and 12. And I set up camp in her laundry room. I literally had 2 5-gallon containers. I made it a bed. I had with those $37, I went and bought like a hanger system from the Dollar Tree. I had my clothes there. I made my suitcase, my dresser. I went and got a side table out her room, and I made that my side table. And I actually have a picture of it. And I remember taking a picture and sending it to my sister. And I said, I'm done. I'm starting over. I don't care how I have to get it done. This is it. This is the end and the beginning, all in the same sense. So in that moment, I made a 7-year plan. I'm on the 6th year of that plan. And this year I'm focusing on purchasing land, purchasing a home. We still live in an apartment right now, and just really developing the personal sense of family and ownership. Of course, the business owner, the nonprofit founder, we're 501c3 in the state of Georgia. So I've established those things throughout the year, but really focusing on my finances this year. So that's kind of the backstory that I kind of really want people to focus on as we go through this journey today.
Oh my gosh, this is going to be incredible. Absolutely incredible. I had no idea. You don't put this on your website. I've done some research on you. This isn't on your website. So I'm grateful that you shared that with us. A lot of questions now. So you're in that situation, right? So that the situation must have been pretty bad for you to decide, like, I've got $37 in my pocket, but today is the day. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to go into the personal aspects of this because it's none of our business, but there had to be some kind of something in your mind where you're like, okay, like I've finally had enough. Can you walk us through that and like help me understand like what your mindset was in that moment?
So I always tell people I exited the marriage before I actually got out of the marriage. I remember having a conversation with my children and, getting over the pride aspect and all of those things. It wasn't really the marriage or the person that I was attached to. It was the idea of marriage and the failure and the embarrassment that I didn't want to deal with. So once I got over that, I had the conversation with my children, and what I was seeing as strength, they were seeing as weakness, and we got that understanding. It was more helpful for me to start planning my escape. So once I got to my mom's house, I settled down and, made my plan of success now. Now I've made my plan of escape. I've executed it. Now I'm making my plan of success. In that, I was like, I got to get a divorce, but I'm broke. He didn't want to sign papers and all of those things, but I wound up running across this free service that Georgia offers, Georgia Legal Service. They offer free divorces for people who can't afford them. So I wound up calling them and setting up an appointment, and that's how I got my divorce. I had to get rid of all the pride. I had to get rid of the fact that I don't like handouts and all those things. I needed help. So I called Georgia Legal Service, got that done. And today I am actually an advocate for Georgia Legal Service and a state board member for Georgia Legal Services. So I advocate for them, and I'm a real client. I went through the services, received the services, actually received a grant where they helped me find housing, start over with my utilities, all of those things. And I received a $10,000 start over grant. And I didn't even know that existed. So I was really digging for information in that process, but I had to change my mindset. And it's something I like to tell people who are going through a divorce. You have to change your mindset. It's not a handout, it's a hand up. It's a hand up to your future, especially if it's, you have children involved. You have to utilize those resources. I utilize my mom, who wants to move back in with their mom after the age of 30. Nobody, but I needed to. I needed that help at that time. So that's one thing I really want people to understand as a part of the mindset change. I didn't see myself as a victim. I just see myself as someone who needed help, and actually dropped my pride and my ego enough to receive that help.
Yeah. And you don't have to be in effective, dire straits to ask for that help, right? I mean, I'm thinking through, as you're saying this, I'm thinking about my own situation and my own divorce, where I felt like I had it all, right? Like I had it all figured out. Right. Like I've been a financial planner at that point for 14, 15 years, whatever the number was. And I hired I thought at the time was a really good attorney. And I'm like, that's gotta be it. Right. Like I've got my financial experience. He's got the legal experience. We're going to get through this. And as I'm going through this exercise, I'm realizing like, wow, like I don't know nearly as much about this as I thought I did when you're in the throes of it. So I kind of let my ego get in the way a little bit, and which forced me to make some mistakes. So you don't. I guess the real message here is whether you're in dire straits or whether you've had some experience and some real world experience in that whatever you're going through, it's still okay to ask for help.
And even if the help is not financial, even if it's mental, like you need to have a support system around.
Yeah. I call it creating Team You. And we, having people like you on the team to help people navigate the mental hurdles that they have to get through, and having divorce coaches and therapists and even loved ones, family and friends, and surrounding yourself with family and friends it was another mistake that I made. I kind of just pushed everybody away and was like, I don't want to involve them. Maybe there was a little bit of embarrassment myself because I'm going through this experience, and I had never wanted to do that. And with my family being so far away from me, I also didn't want them to have to worry every single day about what was going on, because I wasn't necessarily right around the corner from them where they could check in on me. So I kind of pushed everybody away. And that was another big mistake I made, just personally. In your work, you discuss a lot of like mindfulness, right? Like being present and mindfulness. And so how do you see this playing a role for people that are going through a divorce?
So there's something that I do every day. I talk to myself, I listen to myself, and I grace myself every single day. And I'm telling people who are going through situations, especially divorces, talk to yourself. Ask yourself just basic questions. How am I feeling today? Do I want to do this today? Give yourself a rundown of your day, and then listen to how you're talking to yourself. Are you being positive? Are you being negative? Are you grouchy in your delivery to yourself, or are you energetic to yourself? And we don't quite do that as humans enough. We're told, you talk to yourself, you're crazy. But I say, if you don't talk to yourself, you're crazy. You have to have those conversations with yourself, listening to how you talk to yourself, and then grace yourself. The other morning I got up and I was talking to myself, and I literally had to change my speech. And I'm like, I'm having some funky speech this morning. I need to get this speech together. And I just automatically start speaking my affirmations. But every morning is not a good morning. So, and we have to, that's where the grace comes in. We have to grace ourselves in those moments. So I also have my affirmations recorded. If I'm having a moment that morning and I can't say my affirmations or I can't speak to myself, I listen to my own voice, because I'm a strong believer that our voice is the most prominent voice that we can ever hear in our lives. That's the voice that, is always in our heads, that's penetrating in our minds. So I tell people, listen to yourself, call to yourself, listen to yourself, and grace yourself every single day. And that will help with starting your day, especially making those lists as well as to what you're going to do today. Being intentional about the day, but then understanding, some things are going to happen. It might shift, but it's okay. You get a plan. And then when you got to the end of the day, have you been the most productive person and the best version of yourself that you could be in that 24-hour period? And if you have, then great. And if you haven't, guess what? There's tomorrow.
What are some of the other challenges that you face? I mean, that whole self-talk, and I want to get around to some of the imposter syndrome stuff, right? And maybe you want to bring it up now, but what are some of the other challenges that you've personally faced? Because I know mine, but this isn't my story. This is your story. But like in your own, journey to self-discovery and mindfulness and everything else, because I'm sure other people out there are probably dealing with similar issues.
So, like I said, just staying on a positive note, that's one thing. One of the other issues that I have faced personally, I would say this has been my biggest issue, is accepting success. After the divorce, after everything is, final and you're in a place, like I said, I've had the 6-year plan that I've been on, actually accepting that worthy in those areas. Because sometimes when we go through traumatic experiences, we lose our value or we feel we lose our value and we feel we lose our worth. So reminding myself that I'm worthy, that I'm valuable, and that what I want to achieve, I can have. And as I speak to a lot of women, I find that those tones when it comes to affirmations and speaking to yourself and relearning yourself and discovering yourself, that's one of the main issues that people face, especially women, is that we don't always feel validated to receive the things that we actually want. So it hinders us in our process. Sometimes I don't feel worthy of being a mother. Everybody tells me, you're a great mother, you're a great mother. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing as a parent. I cry some nights when I have to fuss at my children. But, I'm doing the best that I can do. And I have to remind myself of that. So that's one of the main issues that I think that I have come across with just discovering myself and making sure that my mindset stays in a position where I'm being healthy. And then another thing is verbalizing when I'm not healthy. Actually saying, hey, you don't feel good today. It took me a while to get there. This isn't something that just happened overnight. Throughout the years, I'm like, wow, I really feel that I don't want to say that to myself. But when we have all this going on in our minds, it's better to say it out loud to ourselves, because we can solve a lot of our issues just simply by saying things out loud. Because when we say it, we hear it. And when we hear it, we can process it. But when it's all just rambling in our heads, it's kind of hard to process. So actually, putting those puzzle pieces together to make our lives and our thoughts and all those things make sense. And that's what I call Unrambling Me. So the workshops that I actually do are called Unrambling Me, a journey of self-discovery and beyond. And that's why they're called that.
And so there's a layer of imposter syndrome here, right? Like not feeling like you're deserving or qualified enough to be a good business owner or have that professional. I was going to say support, but support's not the right word. But the experience that you've had and the growth that you've had in your businesses, the success in your businesses. But also it carries over to the personal side, right? Like, I'm not a good mom and maybe I could be doing better and so on. I think we all deal with imposter syndrome in some form or fashion. And so aside from what you've already mentioned, are there any other things that people need to be thinking about relative to imposter syndrome? Because this is not the first time this has come up in these conversations and specifically in this podcast. I mean, we've talked a lot about it, and it seems like so many people from so many other dimensions and areas of professionals and other areas of the world deal with this all the time. And it's like, it's a real thing.
It is. And I think that now that there are so many people open about it, that it's easier for people to deal with because they know that other people are dealing with it. Because it hasn't been seen in the past as a real thing. Like, you are your own worst enemy. But the more that we work on self, because everything's about self with me, you have to work on yourself. Nobody
Mhm.
can make you feel away. Nobody can, control your emotions. You're the author of your story. You're the only person who can control your life. And so I don't think that that's been the message in the past, which is why it's such a big topic now. We've always been told, that other people can work out our issues, not really directing that we can work from within, from the inside out. So hopefully that answers that question. But yeah, it's just a very open topic.
And there's some level of like, I think maybe COVID has changed this. Maybe the social media and the generations that we're dealing with. Yeah, but people, there's no more of this. I hate to say there's no more of this because we deal with a lot of men that have this. And I heard somebody say one time that it's called John Wayne syndrome.
Mm.
And this is specifically around dudes. So dudes, if you're listening, like, you've got to get over this. And like, I deal with this myself, but the John Wayne syndrome is, I've got it all figured out. I don't need to I'm not going to let anybody in because I've got it. I've got it handled. I need to be stoic. I need to be John Wayne. Right. And I'm feeling like that's slowly dissipating over time, and people are a little more authentic.
Mhm.
And I think people because there's people like you exist, right? People, and I try to be authentic. I'm a work in progress, but that's why we do the work we do. We have this podcast, and we have our Facebook group, and we have all these resources that are out there to help people understand, like, there are other people out there that are going through this too. Let's all just be real with one another and help each other as best we possibly can. So so there's this level of like, and I'm hearing this and everything you're saying, like, you're just trying to be like the most authentic version of you, and in not only your new life, but it sounds like you were trying to do that as you've made the decision to drop the D word, and I want a divorce, and now I'm just going to be real with myself. Am I right?
And that's absolutely accurate, because authenticity is very important. With me, I believe that if I'm not being authentically me, I'm not giving to the world what I was placed here to give to the world. I can't sound like anyone else. And there was a part in my life, actually, when I started podcasting, when I started speaking, and even in the past, when I was young, doing what I do now on a whole other level, not even understanding what I was doing, I would always be ashamed of my voice, because I think my voice is very aggravating. I think my voice is a
Okay.
bit aggravating. And so there were times that I wouldn't talk. I wouldn't say too much, or I would talk and I would cut off what I needed to say because I thought I was long winded and I was just rambling and I didn't like my voice. But finally, one day I remember saying, listen, I'm going to speak. This is the only voice that I have. There's nothing I can do about it. Either you're going to listen to me, or you're not. And I just began to build my tribe and reminding myself that if I don't give what I have, somebody's not going to receive what I have. And the information that I have may be the information that they need to really spark their life to the next level. So I think that when we're not being ourselves, we're doing an injustice to our world. We're doing an injustice to our families, to our communities, to just our state, to the world in general. So we have to be authentically us. And sometimes it's hard and it's difficult because we're people, we're human, and we care about the opinions of others. But we can't care about the opinions of others so much that we lose ourselves. And I think in our society today, people are more accepting of personalities and more accepting of, the way people dress differently, different facial structures, hair. And I teach my children and the people around me, just be yourself. The people who love you are going to gravitate towards you. There's nothing more to say about that. So the more that I understand that, I see that happening, the more that I understand that I'm not for everybody, the more comfortable that I become with myself. Because even though you may not like me, the person next to you may love me and their whole life change. But the other
Mhm.
person who has the same message and they're delivering it differently, they're going to impact the people who they're supposed to impact. But if they're trying to be like me, they're never going to reach those people. So keeping that in mind really helps just with being authentic and staying in my firm foundation of being authentically Hashondra.
That is amazing. I mean, there's like I could take the next few questions in so many different directions, and we might be here all day. And that's not the aim of this conversation. We should talk offline about some of these things, because I'm absolutely fascinated with some of your thoughts here. One of the things that I keep going back to your initial story about how you got to be where you are, and kind of how you morphed into this person that you are today. I'm thinking the word that keeps coming to mind is the word resilience. And you've gone through all these struggles and all these challenges, and not only personally but also financially. So help me understand, like share with us a little bit more about like the concept of resilience and how you've remained resilient. And if for the listeners here that are here for the financial aspects of our conversation, because this is also a financial discussion in some respects, can you maybe layer that in as well, and how you went from having $37 in your pocket to now being, a multiple business owner and multiple businesses and, podcast, like all these amazing things you've done in just the 6 years?
So one thing, especially when it comes to my finances, when I was sitting down, I was talking to myself, I was asking myself, or a question that I asked myself is, what do you have that you don't know about? And I think that's a question that everybody should sit down and ask themselves. Even looking at your insurance. I've talked with so many clients, and one of the things that people like to focus on is their health. Okay, well, when you looked at your insurance policy, did you know that you got a free gym membership? Oh, no, I never knew that. But you're paying an additional $30 for a membership that your insurance already pays for free with a phone call. So just going through those things and just saying, what do I have in my face is a question that I really had to ask. So just being resilient with trying to find out information that I didn't know. And another thing is, people aren't just going to tell you outright what you have. You have to do a little research. Even if you sit down and you do 5 minutes a day of finding out something that you have that you didn't know that you had, sit down and ask your insurance policy, your health insurance policy, your apartment duplex, or your landlord, or maybe it's a friend that does grants. Like I said, I never knew that there was a $10,000 startup grant. Who would have known that for survivors? Like I never knew that. So just seeing what you have in your face that you can get or that you have access to now. That's one big thing that I really, really like to stress to women or individuals, period, who are going through a divorce. Be resilient with finding the information and utilizing that information. Sometimes that 10-minute phone call with a representative can save you $10,000 over a 2-year span. Now you can put that aside and you can begin to save. And that's what I've been doing. I literally have been saving with my resources, utilizing my resources, putting that money aside. I can't say I started a book where, you put the $5 in each week. I'm not good at stuff like that. And I said that to say also understanding your personality. What type of person are you? How can you save? If you know that you're working on your health, you're running and you're getting these McFlurries every day from McDonald's, or you're getting fruit drinks from Tropical Smoothie or Smoothie King. See if you can make them yourself, and actually with the prep time, use that as time to help with your mental health, or use that as family time, using what you have to just become a better person. So I was just resilient in being adamant about the information and also managing my time. So those are the two things that I really stress with every single client that I have.
If I had a way of throwing confetti right now, because there's so much good information here, we should be celebrating everything you say. Like, I can't do a cartwheel. I would be doing cartwheels too, by the way. Like, I can't do a cartwheel. I would knock over my lamp over here. I break my neck, and you'd be calling it. This would be a disaster. But so many good nuggets of information and that you just shared there. As you're going through this, I'm thinking like the one thing I talk about all the time is use your resources, right? And there's one of the big resources that's out there is the EAP plans that are available through so many employers out there. So many of you that are listening to this right now, if you go to your HR documents and you go to your benefits package that you get, and it's through open enrollment, or you just knock on your HR representative's door, they're going to have this information for you. And there's sometimes there are two things. One, a lot of these companies out there provide legal services for free, or at a very low cost, $15 a paycheck or $20 a paycheck, where you can get. I have a buddy of mine who's getting a divorce right now, and it's going to cost him $400 because that's what he paid out of his paycheck over the course of the last year to get a divorce. $400 for legal help, like with an attorney, right? And then you have EAP plans, which is the employee assistance programs, and that are out there that can give you access to therapists and coaches and your internal resources, and they're all for free. So you've got to use your resources. I couldn't tell you, Hashondra, how many people show up on our doorstep. We probably have somewhere between 75 and 100 prospects that come through our door every month. And we have conversations like this with them, like learning about who they are and how we can help them and so on. And very few of them, I mean, I don't know why this is the case. They haven't even done any research on the work that we do. It's like they're like you wouldn't show up on the doorstep of of a cardiologist at an office, or you wouldn't show up anywhere to purchase a good or service without doing a little bit of research on it. And for some reason, that happens all the time with us. It's like, use your resources to make sure you're getting the information you need, and you're talking to the right people, because the information's out there. Google it, right? I mean, like it boggles my mind. But I'm so appreciative that you use that word resources, and I was like, my heart fluttered when you said that. It's amazing. I like to always have like a little carte blanche section of our conversation here before we part ways here in a few minutes, but is there anything that we didn't talk about, or anything that you want to share with our listeners that you think would be important for them? I know you've got a lot of spinning plates and a lot of moving parts over there on your end, a lot of resources. You can be a resource to a lot of them. So maybe something to share there.
I think most importantly, what I want anybody to know that's going through a divorce is breathe. It's okay. I think that's the main thing, just to breathe and understand that it's okay. It's a process. It's not the end of your life. It's the beginning of a different form or a different part of your life. And I think that sometimes when it comes to whether you were the one who filed the divorce, whether you're on the other side and, you got that paperwork in the mail or at the door, however it went, that, it's a grieving process. You've been with that person for some type of period of your life. So process it, allow it to go through. I always tell people, it's okay to feel, but it's also okay to heal. So feel it, allow yourself to feel the pain, allow yourself to feel the anger, allow yourself to feel the joy, allow yourself to feel what's going on with you, process it so you can move forward. And then when it comes to your finances, don't be ashamed to ask for help. Don't be ashamed to start over. Don't be ashamed to say, hey, I need somebody to budget because my husband paid all the bills, or I need somebody to budget because my wife paid all the bills, or just saying, hey, I don't even know where to start from here. Open your mouth, utilize your voice, let that pride and that ego die. Let it go so that you can really flourish into who you want to become. So when you begin to set up the next marriage, if you decide to get married again, you'll be in a position where you're financially stable. You'll be in a position where you're emotionally stable. You'll be in a position where, your spiritual health has increased, because we focus on everything, not just, finances, not just emotions, not just the spiritual, but the physical aspect. Get the whole picture, but don't forget one part, because one needs the other to survive. Definitely need the other to survive. So that's definitely the advice I would give anybody. And that's pretty much a summary of what we've talked about today.
Incredible. Are there any other upcoming projects? I know you've got a lot of stuff going on. So any particular projects that you're working on that can focus on some of the themes that we talked about today?
So my next project that I have coming up is actually a workshop. I usually just do private workshops or, get booked from different people. But every once in a while, I have a public workshop. This is my second public workshop where I open up to anybody who wants to come. So I'm always excited about it. And this time we're focusing on entrepreneurs, on artists, and on people who want to start a nonprofit organization. So that's coming up in October in Brunswick, Georgia. If anyone's listening in that area, you can go to my website starting September 15th. Tickets will be available. And when you leave the workshop, you will actually have a LLC. If you don't have one, we're going to do everything hands-on at the web shop. You need a logo. You'll be able to create one that day. You need a business plan. We're going to work through with creating the business plan with you one-on-one. I have some people who's on a team who's going to be helping me that day, some graphic designers, some website builders. If you need a landing page, this is going to be an incredible workshop. It's going to be an all-day workshop, and I'm really excited about this one. I had too many people wanting to start a business, and I only housed 50 clients. So I was like, you know what? Let's do a workshop. We're going to do it all that day and make sure everybody at least has the foundation and the tools that they need to just start building their business.
Please tell me you're going to do this more than once.
I might. I might.
I'm saying that because I'm not sure we're going to be able to get this aired before this workshop goes live, which is going to be a big disappointment to some people that are listening. But I think we can encourage her if we just, everybody should email and message and Instagram and do all the stuff that you need to do to get this, because this would be awesome. I don't know if I've met anybody that is literally doing that for other people. I've never I've been in this world for like 20 years now and talked to, so many business people and so many people that, so other, therapists and coaches and so on and so forth. And none of them are doing this this type of thing where you actually have a tangible thing you're going to walk away with at the end of the day, like an LLC, a logo, a web, like this is huge. Huge. So you've got to do this. You've got to make sure that you do this more than once.
Okay.
I'm begging you. I'm begging you to do it. But I appreciate, the conversation here today and all the amazing thoughts and so many awesome nuggets of inspiration and information and inspiring insights in the stories that you share with us today. So to listeners, if you want to explore more about embracing your true self and Hashondra's transformational guidance, visit her website at don'toverthink.me. Again, send her some messages so we can get this workshop going on a more regular basis, more than once. And if you're looking for support before, during, or after your divorce, remember that Allegiant Divorce Solutions is here to help you. Visit us at allegiantds.com for more resources. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for more empowering discussions. And until next time, keep embracing your journey and the authentic self that comes with it.